組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
In this episode of Development History, we'll be having a look at how the granddaddy of all mobile suits came to be, the Zaku 1. Please keep in mind that units from Gundam the Origin are not included due to their extensive and conflicting nature. They deserve their own dedicated video. On the 15th of August, Universal Century 0069, the Zabi family managed to gain complete control over the Republic of Zeon and transformed it into the Principality of Zeon. Vying for independence through armed conflict, they realized that they would need some kind of technological edge in order to even put up a fight against the numerically superior Earth Federation. 1 year later, in Universal Century 0070, the first so-called mobile suit was created by Zeonic under the Suit Project. It took 5 years, and the result was a towering, clunky machine, nicknamed Crabman. Possibly due to secrecy on Zeon's side and a lack of interest on the Federation side, very little is known about Zeon's earliest mobile suit prototypes, the MS-01, MS-02, and MS-03. Some sources claim that there were 3 different machines, whereas others claim that the 3 model numbers were used for only 2 machines. What we do know is that the MS-03 was unveiled in Universal Century 0073 and was heralded as the first true mobile suit. However, unlike previous test units, this unit was fitted with armor that was meant to withstand combat, leading to a heavier and much less agile unit. Fortunately for Zeonic, another technological marvel was just unveiled, the Minovsky Ultra Compact Fusion Reactor. Zeonic went back to the drawing board with this new power supply in mind, and in February of Universal Century 0074, the MS-04 prototype Zaku was born. The new generator was twice as powerful, and despite the armor being strengthened even more, it was agile enough to be greenlit for combat testing. While the test results were generally positive, the 100mm machine gun that was developed alongside the prototype Zaku was deemed inadequate for anti-ship combat. Another problem was that the prototype Zaku was much too costly for mass production. Due to the dangerous and unknown nature of the Minovsky Ultra Compact Fusion Reactor, it has been rumored that the MS-04's operation wasn't tested by Zeonic itself, but by Hoshioka under a subcontract. Another retooling happened in an attempt to fix the issues that the Zeon High Command had with the prototype Zaku, and only a few months later, in May of Universal Century 0074, the YMS-05A Zaku was born. It was reliable and fixed all of the problems of its predecessor. Costs were streamlined while also keeping performance up, and a bazooka was developed for anti-ship combat. A new and more powerful 105mm machine gun was also developed. Zeonic's flagship unit was then pitted against Zimad's flagship unit, the EMS-04 Zeta, during the arms race for Zeon's mainstay mobile suit. The Zaku won out and was formally adapted as the MS-05A Zaku 1, although nowadays it is usually referred to as the Zaku 1 Early Type. The Early Type wasn't just the first Minovsky reactor-equipped machine that was deemed ready for combat, but it was also the first one to actually see combat. 27 additional A-types were produced in early July and immediately put to use as training machines for future pilots and commanders to develop new strategies for these machines. Some of the most famous aces of the 1-year war, such as Ramba Ral, Char Aznable, and the Black Tri-Stars, would get their start with these machines. Finally, there exist no records of the A-type being upgraded, meaning that chances are high that they were used as training machines until newer models became available and were then relegated to construction or other such menial tasks. But despite the positive reception of the A-type, there was no time for resting. Alongside the pilots, the R&D people were also pushing themselves to improve the A-type, sadly resulting in the deaths of 10 people and the loss of 5 machines. Still, the result was there. In July of Universal Century 0075, the MS-05B was officially rolled out. While it looked virtually identical, the armor was stronger, the cockpit overhauled, and the engine was changed from the ZAS company's ZAS MI-8B to the similarly spec'd but more reliable MYFS-MES by the M&Y company. The B-type was almost immediately approved, and 793 units were produced between August of Universal Century 0075 and August of Universal Century 0077. After this, production was shifted to Zeon's next generation mobile suit, the Zaku 2. Still, with so many units produced, the B-Type would remain Zeon's main machine until shortly before the 1-year war, with many remaining active in one way or another. While mostly relegated to menial tasks or a jack-of-all-trades guard and working machine on transports, some veterans who learned how to be a mobile suit pilot thanks to the A-Type decided to stick with their B-Types a little longer. Other pilots specifically requested Zaku ones because they knew that there were still plenty of these machines just collecting dust and would therefore receive them much faster than if they had requested a Zaku 2 or another newer machine. In addition to this, they would also have an abundance of spare parts. Once the war started turning against Zeon after Operation Odessa, Zaku 1s were once again pushed into service on a much broader scale in an attempt to reinforce their badly depleted forces. Even though the almost 5-year-old machine performed pretty poorly by now, Zeon had no other choices but to use the Zaku 1 until the bitter end, as newer machines simply could not be produced in enough numbers. But no matter how popular the Zaku 1 used to be, one event cast a dark cloud over its legacy. During the 1-week battle at the outbreak of the 1-year war, Zeon Marines would use Zaku 1s to attach booster rockets to a colony for use in Operation British. This was after they gassed the entire population of the colony.
私は私は知らなかった。毒ガスだなんて知らなかったんだよ。
With its long service life, it should come as no surprise that variants of the B-Type also popped up. For starters, it is rumored that a specific commander type, the S-Type, existed. Supposedly, the Zaku 1 commander type was simply a B-Type with a commander antenna and an additional shoulder pad. However, records show that Rombarol's machine that was active early on in the war was also classified as a B-Type. This could mean that Roll's machine was simply mislabeled, or that the type got its own designation much later on in the war. But it could also mean that there was another separating factor, such as a stronger generator. But that is all that we currently know about the Zaku 1 commander type. As mentioned earlier, even when newer machines became available, many of the pilots who learned the ropes with the Zaku 1 A-Type still wanted to stick with their trusty Zaku 1s. So at some point in Universal Century 0078, a plan was proposed to upgrade the B-Type with the latest technology. This plan was allegedly approved by, at the time, Rear Admiral Dozal Zabi in an attempt to make the mobile suit forces more uniform. This upgrade was designated as the Q-Type, and it featured an upgraded reactor, power pipes on the head, and a second shoulder pad on the right shoulder, giving it an almost similar performance to the Zaku 2 C-Type. While not standard, knuckle spikes were often seen on one or both hands, and because they were mostly used by aces who specifically requested them, they were usually adorned with a commander's antenna. Some units, such as Norris Packard's machine, also used a custom machine gun with an added shield on the gun barrel. Before the war, 240 Q-types were planned to be converted from B-types, but only 162 would be completed because priority was given to the new Zaku 2 C-types. In the later stages of the 1-year war, another 30 units would be converted for a total of 192 units. Unlike the B-type, the Q-type would be consistently used at the front line. Also, due to its similarity to the unconfirmed S-type, it is possible that the S-type was simply a misidentified or damaged Q-type. Another upgraded variant of the Zaku 1 appeared after Operation Odessa, the Zaku 1 Sniper type. Up until that point, Zeon had been using Zakus that were equipped with Magellan top cannons for long-ranged attacks. However, concerns about accuracy and power were brought to the forefront when the Federation retook the offensive. To make matters worse, due to the Federation's advance, Zeon's terrestrial forces had been almost completely cut off from their space forces. As a result, Zeon's final major base on Earth, California Base, made do with what they had and began developing a sniper rifle from a Gelgoog's beam rifle. Because of the high output, the barrel would overheat if fired too fast, although this could be averted by hot swapping the barrel. In order for the Zaku 1 to use this sniper rifle, it was equipped with a backpack that contained a 700 kilowatt subgenerator that used technology from the Gelgoog's backpack. Other upgrades included a Zaku reconnaissance type's mono eye and sensor array for better targeting, a crutch for easier kneeling, and a pair of head-mounted Vulcan guns for close-range defense purposes. Finally, there were two special variants, the MS-06W Worker Zaku and the MS-06V Zaku Tank. Even though their model number wouldn't indicate that they were Zaku 1s, some of them were. This was because neither the Worker Zaku nor the Zaku Tank were standardized machines and were merely attempts by engineers to get Zakus back up and running. As mentioned earlier, Zeon was being pushed back on all fronts and they needed all the units that they could get their hands on. As a result, Worker Zakus were often cobbled together with various parts from Zaku 1s and Zaku 2s, although it does seem like they had some kind of standardization in the form of a shovel on the right arm, a wench on the left arm, and instead of a backpack, many had a rack that could hold containers. Many also had their cockpits modified to allow non-mobile suit pilots to use these machines. In the Zaku Tank's case, the modifications could be as simple as mounting the torso of a Zaku 1 or a Zaku 2 onto a Magella attack hull. So far, one type of Zaku 1 with a Zaku 1 upper body has been found. This unit was equipped with a dozer blade, and instead of normal manipulators, it had a pair of aptly named long manipulators. This made this version of the Zaku Tank a purely worker vehicle. And that is all for the development history of the Zaku 1, an extremely important machine in the development of mobile suits. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, and be sure to subscribe for more similar content in the future, because I know I will start working on the development history of the Zaku 2 after this. A big thank you to all of the Patreon supporters, have a nice day, and I will see you all next time.